Okay, you guys, how are y'all doing? So happy to see you guys. So make sure that you are saying your name and saying hi so that I know who you are. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about abundance. This is my absolute favorite subject. I love talking about it and I love sharing my experiences with you guys on how to create abundance in your life. So, I want to I'm going to share with you tonight something that you probably never heard. I mean, a lot of times you're watching these shows and they're always telling you kind of the same thing about, how to manifest, the whole law of attraction thing. But I'm pretty big on, giving tips that nobody's ever heard of. And how do I get these things? Well, they come to me. They come to me spiritually through meditation or through my guides. So this is a new one that I just got recently, and I thought that I would share it with you. So before we get started, I had somebody ask me recently. that, in fact, today. And she asked me, how did you get into all this? Like, what's the story behind it? So I figured I'd start it off by telling you my story so you understand it's not from a book. Okay. This isn't a book that I've read. In fact, I haven't even read that many books on this kind of stuff. So the reason why is because I don't want to be influenced by somebody else, because I believe in my own personal guidance system based on, the way I was trained. In fact, my personal teacher told me put the books down and start listening. And so this is what I really encourage you to do as well. So let me tell you my story, and then we're going to get into what is that secret that Michelle's going to teach you. I'm going to tell you something you have never heard before. So that's super exciting. All right. So let's get started on me telling you my story. So years ago, I was kind of raised in a very hardcore. And when I say hardcore, we're talking minister on the pulpit, slamming his fist down, banging on the pulpit and saying, "You are a sinner," I mean, and he would drip sweat from his face. I mean, just dripping sweat, banging on the pulpit, screaming, "You're a sinner." And he'd literally like scare the living crap out of you. And so this is how I was raised. I was raised that you had to read the Bible, you had to memorize this stuff, you had to go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, you had to follow all these rules, like you couldn't mix swim, you couldn't, wear shorts, like all these crazy things. But it was, when it started getting really bad, the judgment and the things I started seeing that they were doing to people, and then, what they did to my dad, it really like shut me down. So what happened was with my dad was he was a minister of music, and he was also the youth director. And he wanted to be the youth director because he knew that I needed friends, and because they were brainwashed into believing that if I was influenced by other kids, that it could be a problem. So he wanted to make sure that I was around other kids and we were doing fun things that kids do. So we started going to the bowling alleys. We'd have these youth gatherings and go to bowling alleys, and we'd go do fun stuff. And we used to um, just do all kinds of fun things that kids do. And one day they had a men's meeting, and they called him in, and they said, "We are challenging your testimony, and we feel like that you're not being a good leader and all this stuff. And all you're doing is focusing so much on these kids when you need to be saving souls. And they basically, they really tore him down. And we had gone on, my parents used to like go camping, and we had gone on a camping trip. And when we heard that out in like the other part of Texas, that this pastor that my mom grew up with, that actually married my parents, had he had gotten a church out there, and it was really close to where we were going to be camping out in, I think it was like Kerrville or something like that. And so my my parents, never wanting to miss church, they said, "We're going to go to church over here." And so when we were there, the pastor really tried to kind of recruit my dad and asked him to be the minister of music. And he even got up on the pulpit and said, "Hey, let's pray for him." And they got him up there, and they got him to lead the music and all this other stuff while he was there. And they made him feel like super special. And of course, my parents didn't want to uproot the whole family and move to Kerrville, when they were living like in Houston, Texas. So they, so what ended up happening is that somebody from our church just happened to be there, and then they went and told everybody that he was secretly being, scouting out other churches. And it was like, it turned into this whole catastrophe. Like his loyalty wasn't to the church and all this other garbage. And my dad just got up and walked out and he said, look, if you can't see the value, and he was hurt by the way they were really tearing him down. And because of what he did, what they did to him, I saw that and it hurt me. And I was just a kid, I was a teenager in high school by this time. And I was like, I don't know. And then all my friends were going to the Southern Baptist Church, which was a whole lot more liberal. And they were always doing all these activities. So I told my parents that's where I was going to go. I had a car. And I ended up, having a bad experience with a youth director who pulled something on me. And I was just like, hands thrown up in the air. I'm done with church and the judgment and all this other stuff. So I said, never again. At this point, I graduated from high school, got my own apartment. My dad had gotten a job and he was out in South Dakota. So I just went and got an apartment and at 18 and started out on my own. And I remember feeling very lost. And I remember reading in the Bible where Jesus or somebody, some of these different characters in the Bible, they would fall into meditation. And so that's how they spoke to God. So I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to God. And so that's what I did. So I laid down on my bed and I said, okay. And I did this whole bantering about, for I don't even know how long, about what I was expecting from all of this, and said, hey, God, I need you to tell me what direction. And I remember hearing a voice that said, follow me. And I was like, what does that mean? And next thing I know, it seemed like all these things started coming in my path. And so I was like, oh, that's where I need to follow. And I just kept on all these things just kept on coming up, one thing after another. And before I knew it, it kind of led me to this one place. And things started happening to me. I started coming into these gifts and I started seeing things and I started hearing things. And it was really weird and actually very scary. And I didn't know what to do with all of that. And I tried everything, trying to find people that could help me. And it was a really scary time in my life. But eventually I was able to kind of get some level of control over it. But I wasn't able to completely control it 100%. And there was even points where I said, I don't want any part of it. I'm shutting it all down because this is just too much. And I had a situation where things were falling apart in my life. And I went back into the meditation and I started praying. And I had somebody, it was really weird because I remember meditating and it was like, it felt like I couldn't get deep enough. It's like, I got to be deeper to be able to hear that voice. Okay. And all I could hear was my neighbors' cars and people coming in. It was late at night and I could hear all the sounds and everything, but I kept on trying to get deeper into this meditation. And then suddenly I hear something in this bathroom, and the bathroom faced my bed. So I sat up in the bed and I saw this man standing in the doorway. And I sat up in my bed and I said, who are you? And he said, oh, you can see me. And I go, yes. And he took a couple of steps towards me and he said, and you're not afraid? And I said, no, I got this place on lockdown. I have crystals over here and I have rocks over here. And I did this whole surrounding the place with angels and stuff. And he was like, okay, like that. And he kind of smiled and giggled a little. And then he sat down on my bed and he gave me a message. And he wanted me I still haven't finished it yet, by the way. He told me I needed to write this book, and he told me what the book needed to be about. And I remember arguing with him about it because I said, I'm not an author. I don't have very good, like, and Shannon's listening because she's actually my editor. She's helping me edit the book right now. And because it is in process, but she can tell you I'm not the best writer. I'm a really good storyteller, but I'm not necessarily the best writer. Yeah, haha, that is funny, right? Um, and she's like, okay, Michelle, we need to develop the characters a little more. It's different when you're telling the story versus if you're writing the story. So anyways, what ends up happening is that I ended up finding this very frustrating. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, I had this visitation. And I was telling her about it. She's like, oh, I believe angels come and see us and all this other stuff. And I said, okay. So God gave me a message, And so I felt like really strong about it. But when I sat down to type, I couldn't come up with the information. I've said, okay, I'm going to do this. God wants me to write this book. So I sit down and I can't, because I didn't have any self-love for myself at the time. So what I ended up doing was, typing about self-worth and thought maybe I could talk about that for a little while, but I couldn't even do that. I couldn't talk about love and relationships because I wasn't in one. I had all these relationships that went down the tuber. And so I was like, I don't know that I can do this. And suddenly the computer flashed on and then flashed off. And then the whole computer rebooted and erased itself. I mean, like all the content that I had spent several weeks on erased. And I was like, oh, they're telling me that I'm writing the wrong thing. So I got real upset and I marched down the stairs, went all the way outside, went over to the lake, walked all the way to the lake and stared at the stars and said, I need you to send me somebody right now. Right now. I need a teacher. I need a guide. I need somebody to help me. I don't know what to write. I don't know how do you write a book on love when you don't have love in your life? I don't even love myself. How can I even do that? So I said, you need to send me somebody. Now, I don't recommend you doing this, by the way. I said, you need to send me somebody. And I want him to be a real live person, not somebody who says, we are with you with light and love, la, la, la. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted somebody who was going to help me, teach me, really give me, that direction. And I said, and if that person has to have a direct contact with you, so they know exactly what you want, God, And so I said, this is what's going to happen. And so what ended up happening is I said, and if he doesn't exist, if there's no one on this planet right now that has that ability, then take an angel and put it in somebody's body. Now, that's the key point right there, because I want you to just hold on to that little message right there because it's important. 6 months later, I told him I wasn't going to write a word until he actually sent me this person. So what ended up happening is that 6 months later, my sister calls me and tells me she wanted to go to a crystal store. She wanted to get some rocks. And so I said, okay, I'll take you. She's like, well, you know where all them at and everything. So as we're driving, I suddenly changed my mind and said, you know what? We're going to go to this other place. Why I changed my mind, I didn't know at the time. So I changed my mind. She said she didn't care. She just wanted to go to a crystal store. And so we ended up going to this place. Well, there was this healer there that I felt like might be good for her. So I had seen him, and his name is Happy Harry. He lives in Houston, Texas. And he had always been really good for me. So I wanted her to experience that. So we go there, and she's over here looking at the rocks while I go up to the front and I ask the guy that works there, hey, where's Harry? And he said, well, he's not here today. And I was like, oh my God, I came here thinking that's the reason why I came here. And he's like, oh, but we have, and I'm not going to name its name. So we have this person. And I said, okay. And he said, let me introduce you. So he walks me over to this guy, and he's wearing this black long robe and these long meditation beads. And he's got a shaved head, and he's super tall and really good looking. And he walks over to me and he bows to me. I mean, literally like this. And I was like, and I gave him my hand to shake hands. And he said, come in here. I want to talk to you. So he takes me in the room and he starts talking to me. And he's like, he's just started reading my sister and everything that was going on with her. And I was like, oh my God, he's good. I said, you're good. You're good. Hold on. Let me go get her. So I grab her and I bring her in. She's like, oh my God, I'm scared. And I'm like, don't worry. I'm right here next to you. She's holding on to me for dear life. Like he's going to do something, and, and she's, and so what ends up happening is that she ends up getting this whole like thing where he basically like cracked her head open and spilled all this information out and put it on the table. And, it's like, oh my God, it was crazy how much he knew. I mean, she's like, girl, I haven't experienced anything like that in my life. I was so emotionally taken back by that experience. And there's so much more. I mean, literally Shannon knows. She's in here right now, and, she's the one who's actually editing the book that I'm writing about this experience and where it's taken me. But this was a very profound experience. I mean, there was an energy experience. I felt something that came over me. My heart started racing. All kinds of stuff started happening. But what ended up happening is he ended up calling me and said, come and see me. And I did. And then he literally said, do you know why you're here? And thanks. I appreciate you saying it's interesting. We're going to get to the manifesting stuff shortly. I think sometimes understanding the history of where I get this stuff is important. So, because I always have people asking me, tell me your story. So I figured I'd take this time to do that since we're on the subject. So he brings me and he says, you know why you're here? And I say, yeah, we're here to talk about my sister. And he said, no. And I said, okay, but I thought we were going to talk about my sister. And he goes, we've been talking about your sister. And I go, wait a second. You just said I wasn't talking about my sister. I don't understand. He goes, I'm with your sister right now. And he's in the room with me. And so I'm like, what do you mean you're with my sister? And he goes, don't worry, I'm with her right now. And I'm like, okay. And he said, why are you here? And I go, because you told me to come. And he goes, okay, we're going to play that game? And I said, I don't know what you're asking. He goes, okay. He goes, let me see if I can recall this exactly the way it happened. And he goes, what, you stomped your foot, you yelled at the stars, and you said, bring me somebody right now. And I'm not going to write a word until you actually bring me somebody. He goes, well, I'm here. And he goes, I'm here. And if you would have asked a little nicer, you might have gotten somebody a little nicer. And I was like, shocked. Okay. Because I was like, holy cow, God heard me. He actually heard me. So what ended up happening, let's drink my water. So what ended up happening is that I was so taken back, and I was like, no, I'm so grateful. I don't care. I don't care if you're mean. I don't care if you're tough love. Just give it to me. And he ended up working with me for 3 years. 3 years of my life. And it was like I would do a 180, and then I'd do another 180, and I'd do another 180. And it was like after 3 years of working with him, I was so different. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I was really, 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 really not in a good place. And I always tell people that if I can change, then anybody can. And I'm so like at peace and, so compassionate with people, and I understand. And sometimes I can get a little like, no, we're going to do it like this, because I don't want people to fall into the trap of those things that cause them problems. Okay. But I also understand that it's patterns that are running in your mind. So this is how I got into doing what I do. Um, I ended up seeing all these plaques on his wall, like of places that he studied, and I wanted to be just like him. I mean, I idolized him. So I was like, oh, he took Tony Robbins, I'm going to do that. Oh, he did Bennett Solar, I'm going to do that. Oh, he did Mike White, I'm going to do that. Oh, he did, the Path Foundation, he did Reiki healing, he did this other, quantum healing. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to do it all. Whatever it was he did, I did. And so I was like, I'm going to learn this. He's learning it. I'm going to learn it, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, because I wanted to be in that space. And then I was learning all this spiritual development, and he was coaching me and bringing me into the right space and helping me develop myself. And it was like, I knew that this was going to be my path. I knew so deep inside of me that that I'm going to help people because this has helped me. So that's how it all got started. So people that are wanting to know, how did Michelle get where she got? So that leads me into I still do spiritual studies. I do have a new teacher that I'm working with. He's a gentleman. Again, since the Taoist monk, he was a monk, by the way, that I worked with for 3 years. Since him, I've had um, two other teachers, and I'm on, let's see, so it was him, and then, so I'm on my fourth one. And this particular teacher that I'm with right now, I'll probably be with for a while. And he is so gentle and so amazing. But it's like every time I have these, woo, I just found out this and this just happened. I call him up and I tell him, and he's so excited, and then he kind of explains to me and helps me understand what that's all about. So I'm going to share that with you today because I just got some new information. So I was meditating. Well, actually, I do these, like what I call like nightly rituals. Okay. So I do these nightly rituals where I call out the names of God, all the different names, and I vibrate it, like I'll say Yahweh, but I do it in Hebrew, and I'll say Adonai and Shaddai, and I do all these things, but I do it in Hebrew. And so I do this thing and I vibrate it and I imagine this light around me and I bring in all the angels and I do all this, woohoo stuff, to surround myself with love and peace and light and godly energy and all that other stuff. And then I was going to go to bed, and I sometimes, since I've been in menopause, I've had a hard time going to sleep. So I wanted to turn the TV on and I hear this no really loud. And I'm like, okay. They're like, no, you need to go meditate. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to be turning the TV on. And so I decided to start meditating. And the information that they gave me started off with this meditation, then it turned into a dream, and then the next morning it just kept on going. It was like, okay, so da 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 da, just more stuff just kept on like pouring into me. So I'm going to try to sum it up as best as I know. My teacher told me to write it down. I decided I was going to do a video instead and share it with you guys. So okay, so here's the thing. This is what they told me. When you are trying to manifest, you do not want to focus on money. Now, in the Bible, it says that money is the root of all evil. There is a certain vibration or frequency that's associated with money. And I want you to think about this for a second. Money is literally an exchange of energy. It's a currency. It's a way that you pay for goods or you exchange something for goods. They used to exchange gold. They used to exchange chickens, everybody, people bring a basket of eggs and bring it to the market, and then they give them flour or whatever. And so it's this exchange of energy. Well, eventually they started handing out dollar bills for your service. You go and work over here, you get dollar bills, and they were green. Now, really want you to pay attention to this because this is important. The color of money is green. Now, if you know anything about the chakras, the color of the heart chakra is green. So think about this. That's love. Now, if you love money, it's the wrong vibration. Now, we're going to get to how do you create abundance, okay? But I want you to really pay attention to this because it's important. The love of money, what that does is it's a misinformation. It's kind of like a little trick that they did so that you could buy into the wrong concept. The love of money is almost like serving something more than God, or um, it becomes bad. It's sort of like you're almost like cut somebody's throat just to get to it. How many people do you know that have fought their way to the top just so they could have more money? Okay, so the color of the dollar bill is green, which means it's associated with the heart chakra, which is green, which means that they're tricking you into, by color association, to love money. Yes. So somebody said, okay, I'm going to bring this up here. So somebody said the love of money just creates a workaholic and it loses its purpose. Absolutely. I agree. Okay. So, but it also creates this, people get into this locked mindset where they need money so they can do all these things that they don't need. Okay. There's this, and they become obsessed with it and they want more and more and more and more. And there's nothing wrong with having abundance, but if you're doing it for the wrong reason and you're not giving back and you're not sharing and think about what the heart chakra is. The heart chakra is about love and acceptance. And you're kind of like throwing that onto money. I mean, think about what that message is saying. Okay. So what's the answer? Well, so what they told me was that you've got to think of money as a energy. You've got to think of it as a vibration. And if you want abundance in your life, you got to shift it into not saying money, but to say abundance. And you've got to shift it into the right vibration. Now, that vibration doesn't have a limit. So I need $5,000 or I need $500 to pay these bills. And I know sometimes there's a few people that I know that are in here listening. They're like, well, I just need to make X amount of dollars. Well, you're also creating a limit to that when that it needs to be a flow, and that you need to be in the state and the energy vibration of abundance, meaning it's flowing like a river constantly to you. And that means that you need to match up to it. So what they were doing with me is they were saying, Michelle, what is the vibration of abundance? And I was like, And they said, what would you feel if you're in alignment with that? And I was like, love. And they were like, no, and I was like, okay, what, I'm sitting here just trying to think. Okay, what is in alignment? What are they saying? And I'm thinking, and they're like, okay, come on. What's in alignment with that? What is the energy frequency? And so they were like, okay, let's do this visualization. So they had me like, standing east and facing east, and started seeing like stuff, it's just flowing towards me, like all this abundance coming in my direction. And then they said, okay, now move to the south. So they're basically moving me from east to south to west to north, and just kind of moving around, circulating, and having it coming from the front, coming from the back, coming from the side. So it's coming from all different directions. And as I'm flowing around from all different directions, the abundance is moving towards me. they asked me, what is in alignment with that? Well, they said that gratefulness and giving back, okay? It's, you know, when you have abundance, that also means that you're abundantly able to give in return. But if you're just trying to meet the bills, then you can't give back to anybody. And when you're focused on the love of money, you don't want to give back to anyone. So, so it's the wrong vibration. The right vibration is gratefulness. And I know you've heard that part before, but I'm fixing to get into a little bit more of the things that you need to understand is the vibration of abundance. What is that? Okay, so the vibration of abundance, there's an actual frequency. And so they were telling me, they said it's in the 800s. And they even told me it was on my computer. Okay, they said go find it, it's on your computer, because I have like 100 different frequencies. And I at one time I bought like this whole package of frequencies, and so I ended up finding it. Now here's the interesting thing is that I googled it, and and the actual frequency is 852. Okay, so I Googled frequency 852. You should do that and just see what it says. And it brought up a Wikipedia that talked about broadcasting. Now that's really interesting. So broadcasting is the frequency. So broadcasting, the frequency of abundance, it puts you in alignment. Okay, so think about it from that angle. So when you are sitting in that frequency, you become an attractor, because they were asking me, well, what's in alignment with Michelle? What would attract you, you know? And so think about it like if I was broadcasting abundance, then I would be an attractor to abundance. So if the frequency is 852, and literally that is the frequency they use for radio stations and broadcasting stuff, that's what's so interesting is that really got me, is because everything they were telling me, every time I would Google stuff, I was like, oh my God. So it was really fascinating to me. So then they said, what is the color? Do you know what color is in alignment? Since green is the wrong color, what's the right color? Well, notice what I'm wearing. I'm wearing purple. So purple is the right color. So I'm going to, let me pull something up real quick, because I'm going to show you something that's really interesting. I've been studying Hermetics and the Kabbalah and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Tree of Life or the Sephiroth, but there is, let me see if I can find a good picture of this so I can show you. I should have had it already ready. I apologize for not. I just found one. Here we go. Okay. Let's see here. Let me see if it's going to be, I just pulled it up on a website. Okay. So, no, that's not the right one. I apologize, you guys, for, let's see. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. And here we go. Okay, let me share this with you so you can see it. Okay, so maybe you guys have ever heard of the Tree of Life. They talk about it in Genesis, and or what they might call the Sephiroth. It's like in the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah talks about it. And let me see if I can make this picture a little bit bigger. You're going to see a lot of Hebrew letters in here. So now there's like all of this right here. So this right here, this actually spells Yesod, and this spells Tiphareth. Okay. and this is written in Hebrew. And this right here this is what you call Malkuth, and this is earth. Okay. And so your goal here on your spiritual path is to move through the Sephiroth in balance. And so he said that this right here in Yesod is the frequency right here. And it's actually about communication. Interesting. Broadcasting, communication. And so they were talking to me about moving through the tree of life and being in that same frequency of that vibration. But this is the vibration. So we're talking about purple or violet, whatever you want to call it. That is the color for the abundance. Okay. So if you are wanting to get into that state, you need to be focusing on the abundance and broadcasting that frequency of abundantly giving, abundantly receiving, and coming from it from that angle, and using that color as an attractor. So the next thing I wanted to tell you is the frequency is 852. So I'm going to kind of pull it up and hopefully you can hear it. So that's the frequency. So one of the things that they told me was just to take that and, just play it all the time, like play it in the background. So they said, just take it and turn it down. So I'm going to turn it down. So you can, like, if you can just take it and just kind of turn it down like that to where it's real low and you can barely hear it, but you could still in the background and do it while you're sleeping. Then it helps you. I'm going to turn this back up because I don't know if this is affecting my volume. Okay, hold on. Turn it off. So they said that playing this frequency actually tunes all of your DNA and your cells and your and your subconscious into the same frequency and the same vibration of abundance. So those are the things that you need to do. So you think this is interesting? Very cool. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. So thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're learning how to tune into this. So I'm real big on, I call them hacks. So, when you're in a space and you don't know how to get out of it, so let's find a hack. Okay. So let's find a hack on how to go from sadness to happiness instantly, how to go from anxious to peaceful instantly. Like, I'm really big on that. That's like one of my sort of key things is alchemizing emotions. So when this was told to me, it was like getting into that state of gratefulness, getting into the state of abundance, getting into the state of receiving. How do you do that? Well, these frequencies, what they do is they start tuning the brain frequencies into that. And that is science, guys. This isn't woo-woo. This is science. Like, there is proven science that when you listen to certain frequencies, they do these specific things. Okay. And if you do it enough, it completely retunes your brain. So with this, each particular one does different things. So one of the things they told me to do was to listen to it all day and listen to it while you're sleeping. So what I was planning on doing was taking this frequency, because I think it's only like a couple of minutes. Let me turn it back on real quick and see. It's 43 seconds. Okay. So what I was thinking about doing was, anyone who wants the frequency, what I can do is I can actually take it and turn it into an 8-hour length. Okay. And you can just turn it down to where you can barely hear it. And if you're interested and you want the link, it's free. I'm not going to charge anybody for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally like duplicate it. And I have an app that I do like all of my audio editing and stuff in. So if you want the frequency and you want to be able to have something that's not 43 seconds that you have to click on it all the time and listen to it while you're sleeping, absolutely, I can give it to you. I'm also going to make a second version of it with some nice music on top of it, so it's a little soothing. So if you do want to listen to music on top of it, like while you're sleeping, I'll give you that as well. So if that's something you want, put it in the comments and say, yes, please, and I will give it to you. Okay. Oh, Shannon's already said, yes, please. All right. Shannon, you're always on top of everything. I appreciate it. So anyway, so if it's something you're interested in doing, let me know. And I will definitely give you that frequency. So I know this is really fascinating. And Shannon's like, I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And I know that I see a couple other comments coming in here that people are saying, this is really interesting. So if you, like I said, if you're interested in hearing that and you want to hear that frequency, what I'll do is I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel anyway, for anybody who wants it, just an 8-hour frequency. I think that you can also go on YouTube and you can just put I don't know if that number is available, but I'm pretty sure that you could probably put in there and see if there's anything that plays for 8 hours. That might be a quick, way of doing it yourself, but it's just a couple of suggestions. But I'm going to put it together for somebody if they need it for that amount of time, because I don't know if it's available. Okay. So if you want it, I'll do it, and I'll pop in a link for you guys once it's done. Like I said, I'll probably the easiest thing to do is just to go ahead and put it on YouTube so that you have access to it. If you are new to watching my stuff, I do stuff on self-worth, on discipline, on manifesting, on spiritual development, all of the above. If you're interested in getting a consultation with me and you want to work with me, please send me a text message. The number is 713-551-6329. If you want that free consultation, again, let me put that up there for you. So let me put it in here. So text 713-551-6329. I also work virtually, so anybody who is not living locally to me. So if you want a free consultation and you just want to see like what's going on, another thing that I am going to be doing is I am going to be running a 50 to 75% off sale. I mean, it's going to be a big sale. I'm going to do it for a short period of time. See what kind of results I get, assess my results and see what happens. If this is something that you are interested in doing, please let me know. Shannon says she has a question before we go. Go ahead, girl. Ask the question. What is your question? Just go ahead and post it real quick if you can. Let me know what your question is. So while I'm waiting, because I know that there's like about a minute or two delay. I noticed that when I looked it up on Facebook. So hopefully she'll hear me say this real quick and she'll put her question in the comments here. I just did this research. So frequency of abundance is 888 and money is 432. Okay, I'm telling you, this came straight from my guides. Okay, they said the frequency of abundance is in the 800s. However, they told me specifically 852. So anything in the 800s has to do with abundance, but 852 has to do with broadcasting and communication. And this is like literally you're broadcasting it into the universe. So this is the best frequency for that. But I would say anything in the 800s is good. Okay. So what you're trying to do is get yourself in alignment with these things. So understand that. Hopefully that helps answer your question, Shannon. If anybody else has any other questions, please ask before I go, because I'm fixing to sign off. Okay. Well, so like I said, if you would like to have a free consultation, Okay, cool. I'd love to know the difference. Maybe it's an abundance of money, of broadcast for money. Yeah, I know. Here, let me just post that what you just said. Okay, so this is her question. Um, okay, so they specifically told me 852, and maybe that was because that was for me. It's about broadcasting, um, but they also told me to teach it. So they said, do a video on this. I think that when you are, like for instance, when you're talking to the universe and you're like, universe, uh, this is what I'm ready to receive, and you're doing all that stuff, you've got to be in that state. You've got to, be in a receptive and a grateful in a state of receiving. So it's literally like broadcasting is a signal. It means it's something that's going out. You can think of it as a two-way street. So the way that it was explained to me was, if something's going out, something's coming back in. So that frequency could exist. The abundant frequency, let's say that it's there and it's right here. So if you're in alignment with it, then you become a magnet for it. So it could be broadcasting a specific signal, and you become a magnet by turning into that channel. Hopefully that explains it. And I'll do some more meditating on it and ask some more questions about it, because you've brought up some really good questions that I didn't think of myself. So I will definitely find that out. And if I can do a follow up on this once I know a little bit more. But feeling it as well as, yeah. So okay, so let me kind of, the 852 is it's like it's an open frequency where things can go. Okay, so think about it from that angle. If the radio is broadcasting, you're also receiving. Okay, so it's an open channel. It's like you're receiving, like what you're doing right now. This is on a channel of 852. Okay, so it's you're on the right, it's like you're on the highway of it. So it's in equal to that particular highway. You're opening up that channel is what you're doing. And so that's why they're saying open up the channel, and that's the channel to opening things up. Okay, and 852 also has to do, like if you look at the sofa something frequencies, you can find out that it also has to do with opening up your third eye. Okay, so if you're thinking about that and you're just literally like you're turning to that channel, and that's the channel for, to receive, suddenly that abundance can come to you. I can tell you, just by playing it all day, I felt the most peace I've ever felt in a long time. Um, but let me um, let me just Google something, because I might be able to get a little bit more. Um, okay, so let's see what it says. Awakening your inner self, spiritual order. It also says awakening intuition. See, basically, it's a frequency that opens up things. It's a frequency of broadcasting. Okay, it's like opening up to that. So if you're not open to something, okay, you're not going to be able to receive it. Hopefully that makes sense. So you need to be focusing on this color right here. So imagine it all around you, see it, feel it, imagine it, be it, and be open to that frequency. So I'll be doing more stuff on manifesting, and this is just one of those things that nobody talks about, that nobody's teaching, and you don't really hear it anywhere else. It's not in any books or anything like that. So hopefully this helps you guys, and y'all have a wonderful day. I will see you soon. Oh yeah, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Bye.